This is a Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. What's going on, Sham?
This is the raspy voice edition.
The red light special. Yeah, you know what? Put your kids to bed. We decided to do something, try something new this week. We said relationship episode, but in actuality, it was the red light special. Sham, take it away.
I know. So, folks, so I took a trip to New York yesterday to support one of my very close friends, her son, who I affectionately call my nephew. He was playing in his senior night game at his high school. So he plays football, and we all were there to cheer him on, and somehow my voice got left in New Rochelle, and now we're back in D.C.
So you were a football mom yesterday, you were losing your mind, and you lost your voice.
Exactly.
I just want to know what the referee looks like.
I don't know.
That you were screaming on.
No, they won like 30-something to 0, so there's nothing to scream about. But we had a really good time. Came back really late this morning, and now I'm here. Great.
And down to do the cast. Raspy voice and all. Sham makes personal sacrifices, but she sounds great. So
I don't know about that.
I did not like peer pressure. Sham would never bow to peer pressure of mine anyway, but I didn't do it. She wanted to do it. She didn't even tell me she had a raspy voice until I saw her face to face, because we do a lot of texting. And then she came in, it was like, sounded like that. I was like, are you sure? Yeah, no, I'm good.
I was somewhat in denial.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
So how's your week been? Well, you went to the game and all that, but before that, you good?
Yeah, nothing real crazy going on. This situation I have right here with this cup and the straw is really irking my nerves, but...
So talk to us about the straw, because actually I think a lot of listeners will relate to this.
Well, it's a new eco thing, like, to do. You get rid of the straws because they're plastic. They're, what, are they killing the whales or the fish or something?
Yeah, it's like... I remember this was a big deal back in the 90s for Earth Day. And then it kind of like had a resurgence.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah.
I don't know if I told you this, but like last summer when I went to Canada, they had totally done away with straws in the part of Canada that I was in. It was in Ontario, so Mississauga, I'm saying it wrong, and Toronto area, they had like totally done away with straws. So I thought that they were all losing their minds and they were crazy. And then a few months later, I come back to the U.S. And we're doing the same thing. But the problem I have with the paper straw is that when you're drinking out of it, if you have like a large drink or whatever, like I'm having a Slurpee right now, it's a 30-ounce Slurpee. I'm not even halfway done with my Slurpee and my straw is almost in pieces.
Yeah.
So this is like... It's just like a point of contention for me.
Sham just demonstrated that she actually is indeed drinking a Slurpee.
Like I'm struggling with this. Like I'm going to have to turn it up to my face, which I did like a little video rant, about this when I had gone to Starbucks, because they do sippy cups now.
Yeah.
And like, why am I going backwards? Like, I'm not 3. I don't need a sippy cup. I'm a grown adult.
Yeah.
I want to be able to drink my drink like a normal person.
Yeah, that probably was a too cute attempted nostalgia on their part, maybe. I don't know.
And even with the sippy cup, I will say, may I have a straw? Because they still have them. They just don't put them out because they want to discourage people from taking them.
Right.
But I'm like, give me a straw, please, because this is ridiculous.
To the point you made about Canada, in D.C. especially, a lot of places will not serve straws, period. So you either have a choice of some places serving that horrible straw that you're talking about or none. I've been to a few places. They won't serve them.
Which is crazy because there are biodegradable straws that are not paper.
Yeah.
And they are made like the straws that we're used to.
Yep.
I think if we can just wrap our heads around those type of straws, because those are actually very functional. I have a few at home. But this paper nonsense, I mean, look at this. It's literally like collapsing in my cup.
And I was telling Sham, I'm kind of indifferent about the straw thing. She's correct about the paper straws. They collapse and it's horrible. But, I deal with it because, you know why? Because I'd rather have that than no straw at all. I brought up the no straws because no straws is ridiculous. And fellas, if we need to have a meeting, let's have one. Because all my guy friends always be like, oh, you be sitting there drinking out of a straw. Drinking out of a glass at a bar is disgusting. Okay? Yes, it's alcohol. Yes, you're killing germs. Whatever. That's disgusting. And I hate it. And so that's my little soapbox on that.
You have to walk around with a reusable straw.
Yeah, I'll take the same straw. Different spots if we hop. Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, so we got some topics to get to today.
Yeah. Well, real quick. So my week was uneventful for the most part. I'm settled into work, as we talked about. My cousin has come up here from South Carolina for Howard Homecoming. He came with his friend. Sham met them. We actually spent a lot of time with them. They've now gone out to enjoy the Howard Homecoming festivities. It's Howard Homecoming weekend. Also Morgan and also Bowie State, right? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah. The three of them. So they have a little trifecta weekend. Also, my beautiful mother had a birthday yesterday and told me that I could mention it on the podcast. So yesterday, Friday, October the 11th, my beautiful mother, Sally Struthers, celebrated her 68th birthday. And happy birthday, Mom. I love you. Actually, the cousin is from her side of the family. So to tie back into this real quick, and then we'll move on. Sham, two things. Number one, first and foremost, he's 25 and his friend is 25. I've never felt older in my life than hanging around 25-year-old guys.
Now, before you go on, I'd like to mention that when you told me the story that you're about to tell our listeners, that I immediately thought, based on this story, that they were like 19, 20.
Correct.
So that gives you all a little bit of perspective.
Yeah. And I'm going to give you guys the very short version of the story. The short version of the story is this. They arrived in D.C. from a road trip from South Carolina yesterday, Friday, the 11th, around 7 p.m. Their plan was to arrive here, put their bags down. They're staying with me and then go out. So that happens. Now, they, at some point during the night, they separate. One friend returns. The friend returns. My cousin does not. Okay? In the middle of the night. The only reason I was still up, because I was entertaining thoughts of like watching the Nationals game, and we'll get to that later, but it ended very late, watching the Nationals game and then catching up with them. The only reason I didn't do that was because every time I tried to reach them and say, where are you, where are you, where are you? They were at a different place, which they're 25. So they're just moving around. And I was like, they're moving around too much. But they kept answering me. So they're okay. They're answering me, or he. The friend comes back. My cousin doesn't. I'm asking where he is. He doesn't know.
What time of day was this?
Around 3 a.m.
Okay.
So a couple of thoughts are going through my head right now. This cousin's mother is more like a big sister to me than a cousin. She just is. So I now have to explain to her where her son is, who, for lack of, she's entrusted to me. Now, he's a grown man. So there's that. Then call after that, after my mother's birthday, in which I was a very good son this year. You know, she was very impressed with some of the stunts I pulled. I have to explain to her why, you know, our little cousin is out like in the middle of nowhere or whatever, unaccounted for. So I made both those calls this morning. I felt very grown making those calls because it took a lot to explain the situation. I could laugh about it now because he been found. He came home.
At what time?
11
a.m.
a.m. talking about I lost my phone.
For 8 hours.
Unaccounted for.
8 unaccounted?
Unaccounted for. Okay. All kinds of stories are in my head. But anyway, just as cool as a cucumber. Hey, I lost my phone. What? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, Sham, so I say all this to say that we'll put a bow and then we'll go to our stories. I'm nowhere near ready to have a child because this is a grown man who's my younger cousin who, like, okay, I love dearly, but I feel responsible for in like a weekend of a trip. And I'm flipping out that he's like, you know, living his little best life or whatever. The worrying I was doing, I mean, his friend came back without him and didn't know where he was, and his friend was worried. So I was like, all right, man, I guess we got to like start calling the cops, like doing whatever. Whatever. So the point being, I'm not ready to have a child. Like, because a child, multiply that by like 10,000. Like, his mother was flipping out. She called me this morning before he got home. So, and what was I going to say? I mean, I could have lied and been like, oh yeah, he's right here. But then it's like, oh, he's asleep. But then it's like, well, what if I don't find him? Then what? How am I going to explain that later? So no, that wasn't even a thought. So whatever. But so as old as I felt before that happened, I felt 10 times older after that happened, I guess is my point. But yeah, they're having fun. I told both of them, I hit them with the ice cube from Friday. They was like, oh, we're going to the yard. Hey, come back. Because y'all about to be on punishment up here, okay? Like, whatever. I'm not about to be disowned from my family because y'all want to come out here. And they've never been here before, Sham.
I know.
They've never been here before, listeners. These people have been to D.C. for the first time. They stayed with the one person in this family who everyone trusts to come up to D.C. to stay with. And then one of them gets lost within hours.
He was
Good God.
He was gone for 8 unaccounted for hours.
Talk about I was walking around. Couldn't get a cab. This is exactly what... Let's get to the stories. I'm working myself up. I love you, cousin. I'm not even going to say your name. Everybody else knows what I'm talking about. Most of our family listens to this and whatever. No name said, but he drove me up a wall. I've never been that stressed out. I don't remember the last time I was that stressed out. Seriously. I don't remember.
All right, let's get into these news stories.
Yeah, we got some big stories.
So this week, there's been an unfortunate circumstance that happened in Syria concerning the Turkish border. Our troops were guarding that border for the Kurds in Syria because the Kurds help us with their kind of association with ISIS. They help us out with that. And so Donald Trump, our executive in chief,
yes,
or commander in chief at this point as well, decided to pull the U.S. troops from the border. So now the Syrians don't have the protection from the Turkish forces, and they nice and just started bombing that area of Syria. Like,
I mean, immediately.
Almost immediately. And the bigger problem with this, I mean, alongside the obvious problem, is that lots of innocent people are going to get hurt, is that the USA basically was like, and I don't want to say Donald Trump basically was like, but as a whole, our country was like, basically, either we're going to protect you or you're not going to have any protection at all.
Correct.
Because we're not going to allow you to get any protection from Russia. We're not going to allow you to get any protection from any place else. So we're the ones that's going to be here to hold the border for you. And then what do? We pull out. And then what everybody feared would happen has happened.
We've talked about this before, and it was involving Syria, but it wasn't exactly this particular aspect of the conflict.
Right.
You have to have a plan when you do things, especially in war, especially when you have sort of a face-off with other nations and people are waiting to see what you're going to do with the situation. Everyone in the entire world, that's not hyperbole, knew that if we you just said it, if we pulled out, they had no protection. So you have to have a plan to say, okay, we're going to pull out. Fine, or reality, or whatever you want to say. We're planning to pull out. This is our plan when we pull out. We've negotiated with this ally. We've done this. We've shored up their military. We've shored up their defense. You don't just pull the rug out.
They left them with nothing.
And leave them with nothing. Because then what happens.
Yeah.
They get massacred.
Mm-hmm.
That bombing started. Good. You want to talk about a countdown?
Yeah.
They were sitting there like, all right, they'll be back. They'll be out in 5, 4, 3, 2. Let's go.
Yep.
And it's horrible. And to your point, the human rights crisis that now, anytime you get a war zone, you get refugees and you get a human rights crisis. And then, enter the UN to do what? Nothing. So
there was a quote from the Syrian leader, I can't pronounce his name, General Abdi.
Don't toss that one to me.
Right. General Abdi Basically saying you have given up on us.
Yeah.
You are leaving us to be slaughtered. You're not willing to protect the people, but you don't want another force to come in and protect us. You have sold us. This is immoral, and it is.
That's the worst part. You laid it out perfectly at the beginning. If we don't want to do this, fine. Don't prevent other people from doing it. Don't say, oh, well, this is a geopolitical chess game and we don't want Russia or whoever coming. Well, either put up or shut up.
Right.
Now, I don't want to sound like that to our troops who are like, look, man, that's our lives on the line. I'm not saying that. I'm not the person that has to serve over there. But at the same time, we are now already in this. So, again, come up with a plan. That's, at minimum, present an option.
Yeah.
Don't just leave and just close the door and that's it.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
It is immoral.
It's horrifying.
It is immoral.
And kind of close to that, one of my coworkers who I'm very kind of cool with that, where you guys like people at work that you talk to a lot.
Yep.
Her husband was deployed to Turkey, and he's right around that area.
So I know she's worried sick.
Oh, the day that happened, she kind of got worked up because normally she and her husband talk the same time every night. And that night, she couldn't reach him or he didn't call her. It was like, she was just like, I don't want to talk about this. Like, she's pretty stoic all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I had mentioned it in a conversation with another person while she was standing there.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't talk about Syria. Don't talk about Turkey. I cannot talk about it right now.
And like the kind of conversation we're having where we're talking about, the geopolitical ramifications, that's real world ramifications. I would never have this conversation around her.
No.
You know what I mean?
When she said it, I took it. The other person kept talking, and I was like, way to go, not talking about Turkey or Syria. Because she literally just said, like, this is not something.
Oh, you put that other person on the spot?
I did. I was like, what are you doing? She just
What are you doing?
She just said she don't want to talk about it. But here you go with like 3 follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, baby girl, but you did that.
People so self-absorbed, it's not even funny. The woman just asked you, and you're not even realizing why the woman asked you. Whatever. All right. Well, yeah. So that's an unfolding story. It's one of those stories that I don't see having a happy ending in the sense of resolution. It will have a messy ending. And the Republicans in Congress, who we will get to, have been worked up about this. Oh, yeah. They know when to get worked up. They get worked up about things that don't really like sort of directly affect them. Now, some of them may have served or have people who serve, and so I won't say that. But in general, they get worked up over foreign policy things that kind of are representative of what America is supposed to be symbolically. So they get very worked up about that. Lindsey Graham, this is the maddest I've seen at Trump. I mean, Trump was sitting there disrespecting his best friend until the moment he was in the grave and beyond. And he still was supporting him. But over this, he actually broke with him. And was like, this is the worst thing he's done as president, which is a lie.
Right.
I mean, this is pretty bad, but it's like, this is the worst thing he's done? Like, this is like how you feel?
It may not be the worst, but it's going to affect more lives.
Oh, yeah. Now, real world. Well, okay. Listen, Syrian lives are just as important as ours. So I'm not saying like that. And it will be thousands, hundreds of thousands. But what he did with Hurricane Maria, everyone in Puerto Rico was wiped out.
You're right. I
mean, stuff like that. Like, Lindsey Graham, where were you? Like, what are you talking about? You care more about, I'm not even going to sit here and say you care about Syrians because you do not. You care about America's standing symbolically in the world. That's what you care about. To sit here and act like, and the Republicans sit here and act like they care about, oh, well, what about the Syrians? If a Syrian walked into your office, you would have him deported. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about?
Facts.
Okay? You care about America's positioning in the world geopolitically against Russia and China and everyone else. That's what you care about. So, but, so I think that should be pointed out too in terms of the political ramifications. But I hope your coworker's husband gets the hell out of there ASAP.
Me too.
Not that he's a choice. Gets sent back.
Yeah.
On the domestic front. So we talked about the impeachment a little bit last week. A lot of it is tied to the whistleblower. and 45 on cue. That's very, very good. Look, if you can't talk, you can whistle, right?
I can definitely always whistle.
45, listen, this wasn't even on the South Lawn. This was in a room. So I know. They're not putting my strategy out, by the way. They haven't put all the reporters out on the South Lawn yet, but I'm telling y'all, if I start a network, we would kill because we'd be out there.
We need to just go out there.
Or I'll camp out. I'll camp out for a month, and I guarantee you I get more scoops than everybody else. But he threatened the whistleblower. Said they should be called him a traitor. Called, and it's multiple. There are other whistleblowers that are about to either come to fruition or already in the pocket of the Democrats. But basically, the president said, "Look, number one, I want the identity of the whistleblower."
I laughed when I heard that.
He is a gangster.
Because that's the whole point of being a whistleblower. Yes. Your identity is withheld throughout the entire thing.
There are whistleblower protections and laws. This man said, hey, look, before we even get started, who was it?
How you threatening somebody you don't even know?
And you've been out here talking like, look, man, if you trade secrets, you should get treated like a traitor and should be executed. So on the heels of that comment, who exactly said this? And you're the president. Listen, he doesn't care. I said it last week. I'll double down. When you say it out loud, that means it's okay. That's his thought process, and it does work. We have seen it work. Hey, Mr. President, did you pay Stormy Daniels? At first he said no. Then he came around and said, oh, well, Rudy Giuliani was like, yeah, he did that. And we'll get to Rudy Giuliani, but he was like, yeah, he did it. I mean, okay, what's the big deal? This is how this man operates. Congress, Democrats, they're winding themselves up over this impeachment sham. The more the time passes, the more I hope I'm wrong, but the more I think I'm right. And I told Kamau this the other day because he and I have gone back and forth about this. The impeachment story is starting to become more and more tedious and hard to follow. There are more strings. You got to draw them. What the liberal media, and I count myself as a liberal, so I don't say that as sort of a denigration. I say that as fact. What they believe that they're doing is they believe they're building a case. You work in the law office. You see cases being built. Maybe you can attest to this, and then I will move on. There are times when you have to recognize, hey guys, a jury is a team of 12 ordinary people. You cannot overwhelm them with just tedious amounts of.
Because they'll lose focus.
They'll lose focus. If you have evidence, present it in a simple way and don't just overload them with it. And every story that comes out, you get these strings, you get these, oh, well, this person went to this place and this person went to this place. It's like you get bored. The OJ special a couple years ago, a jury member said, they're sitting there talking to us about DNA for 3 days. I don't know what that is. So what? Did he do it or not? Okay, I'm bored. And, this is what the impeachment story has become. This is what we're talking about, the whistleblower. They need to dumb this down to a sentence and make it electric. I don't believe they've done that yet. I don't. Americans don't know we're talking about the whistleblower. Americans do not know, what goes into being labeled a whistleblower, the laws that come with that, and the sacrifice you have to make to be that. Americans believe they hear whistleblower and they say, oh, okay, somebody just told something. So what's the big deal? You have to go through a process to be labeled a whistleblower, and it literally destroys basically your whole life, and you have to be protected to do that. So for the president to make a threat against something like that is a big deal, but Americans cannot grasp that because it is very complicated. So rounding out the major news, we have a debate on Tuesday. So in our last episode, I thought the debate would be this previous week. No, the debate is coming up on Tuesday, which will be the 15th, October 15th. I believe I said a couple shows ago that I believe we will have our core candidates by Thanksgiving. This debate will be a large part of that. This is the big debate that will decide what these candidacies do. And in cases like Cory Booker, you don't have a good showing tonight and a good bump, I expect you to be out before Halloween.
Where's he been, by the way?
Trying to figure out how you going to raise some money, because he don't have any money. And the reason you don't know where he's been, we talked about the last episode. Everybody's been talking about the impeachment. It's been taking away headlines and airtime from him.
True, but I've been noticing, and I'm glad you brought that up about the debate because I wasn't sure when it was coming up, and it makes sense now. I've been noticing that a lot of candidates have been showing up on TV. I've not seen Cory Booker on TV for a minute.
Yeah.
Like on like different talk shows and stuff. Like Kamala Harris is on The Real. Andrew Yang was on The Real. I've been seeing them on various talk shows. The View. They're making the rounds.
Maybe it's belt tightening time in the Cory Booker camp.
Right, because I haven't seen him making any rounds.
Making the rounds costs money. That's travel.
So I guess that's what I mean by where's he been.
And that's a great point. I didn't even notice that until you said it. But this might be hey, you know what? Forget all the rounds, forget all the shows, forget all the ads, forget everything. Show up to this debate and convince people why you need to be president or drop out of this race. So we may see Cory Booker on steroids. and honestly, Cory Booker strikes me as the type to completely show out in this debate for that reason. And it might end up being quite embarrassing if he goes about it the wrong way. He is in crisis mode in his campaign, and a bunch of other people, I wouldn't say crisis mode, but they are in the mode where they need to steer the conversation back to people caring about them to be president, which is hard to do. The debate on Tuesday will have 12 people, Sham. They are going backwards in this sense. 12 people on the same stage. And CNN actually, advertised this like it was a good thing. They named all 12 people, and I was like, when are you going to stop naming names? Well, it's really 20 people. But 12 people? Stop. But anyway, so we will see on that note. And finally, as far as the 2020 candidates are concerned, Uncle Joe, you're not going anywhere for a while, but you should feel in crisis mode. You should. People are actively like, there's zero chance that he can beat 45, which is a problem. Bernie Sanders is sick. The heart attack thing, even though he's bounced back, the heart attack thing has picked up enough steam where people are like, you know what? He is old, indeed. Kamala Harris, I mean, Sham, we'd be remiss if we don't talk about this real quick. 45, barter, he came for. Which, I guess in the Kamala Harris camp.
That was 45 Junior.
Oh, I missed it when you showed me that.
It was 45 Junior. That's why her joke is a bar. Okay,
it loses its luster then. So, and I'll paraphrase unless you can pull up. But basically, Don Jr. said, why does Kamala Harris sit there and laugh at her own jokes all the time? She laughs entirely too long, and they're not even funny.
Right.
Wow, that changes everything.
And her response was, you wouldn't know a joke even if a joke raised you.
So that is a great bar. See, guys, real quick, when Sham told me this story and when we looked at it, I looked too quickly. I thought it was actually 45 who did that. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's a nice, clever turn of phrase by her, but dude kind of barred her because she does laugh at her own jokes entirely too much.
She does.
Yeah. So it was a nice little observation by 45, who's a good troll on Twitter. His son tries to be a troll, but his son always trolls somebody and then gets like clapped all the way back.
And that's what she did.
Yeah. And yeah, so if a joke raised you, she clapped both of them. So that was nice. Okay, Kamala. All right, cool. Yeah, you back cool again. She needs a good showing in this debate as well. She needs to
not be so long-winded.
Correct. So, and we won't be long-winded on the politics. So that's all the political news we have for tape today.
Ding, ding. Rolling on into entertainment.
Yes.
And I have to sigh because this is a very sad way to start the entertainment. But we're going to do it this way so we can pick it up.
Okay.
So Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
who had announced several months ago that he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And you knew once he got the diagnosis, like, people don't come back from
pancreatic cancer. I believe the survival rate is in the teens.
It's very low.
Yeah, if not the low.
But we were all like, oh, it's Alex Trebek. He going to survive, blah, blah, blah. So he announced this week that he is going to have to stop doing Jeopardy.
Yeah.
He's suffering, and I say this as I'm sitting here with a raspy voice, but he spoke about how he's unable to speak eloquently, and it's hard for him to say words like it used to. It's a struggle because, I mean, his whole job is to read and speak.
And if Alex Trebek can't speak eloquently, Alex Trebek can't speak.
Exactly.
As far as he's concerned, and I agree.
He's like one of those voices of a lifetime, of a generation, I should say, that you hear his voice, you instantly know who it is.
Yep.
And it's really sad for me because I was always one of those geeky kids that watch Jeopardy every night.
I love Jeopardy.
My grandmother and I was something. She has passed from a different type of cancer. My grandmother and I used to watch it every night. And it was like our thing. And she would be like so shocked that I would know the answers to a lot of, or the questions from the answers to a lot of these things. And when I heard his voice talking about how difficult it is for him, and he literally said, "I'm dying."
He said, "I'm near the end of my life."
He's like, "I'm near death."
Yeah, something like that.
And
he said, "I'm near the end," or something like that.
And I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like, I just wanted to like crumble into a ball, because like there are lots of things about growing up that you can connect to and say certain points in your life that you were here doing this and blah blah blah. And Jeopardy is always one of those things that can tie people to other people, because
Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Those two things.
Back to back.
I mean, I'm like you. I mean, my grandmother passed obviously earlier this summer. And me, her, and my mom, we used to watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. Like, every that night. Was 7 and 7:30.
Every night.
Yeah, you know. And it sounds like your grandmother's the same way. You start getting stuff and they'd be like, "You should go on Jeopardy."
Right. Yeah. I could never go on Jeopardy, by the way.
Yeah, it's too much random information.
And I would never want to.
I feel smart, but it's like random stuff. But that it's one of those things. I watched it every night when I was a kid, and then obviously I got older and did whatever.
You get busy.
And then you look back, and it still comes, and you're like, Jeopardy still comes on? Yeah. At the same time, with the same person? Wheel of Fortune, still Pat Sajak and Vanna White. Jeopardy, though. Forget Wheel of Fortune. Alex Trebek still out there giving questions. Oh, you must put that in form of a question. Oh, you don't get the points.
But he is that show.
Yeah, he is that show. Seriously, they should not do that show after whatever happened. If he leaves, then let him leave. Even if he's still alive, let him leave and just end the show. Like, end it.
Yeah.
Don't bring somebody else up there.
I mean, they did that with like Drew Carey and The Price is Right. And
yeah, but
it's just never been the same.
Yeah, and even that was not the same. But at least in that case, even though Bob Barker was old, he was also littered with scandal. So they were kind of like, look, you know what? The show could go beyond you because your name is kind of sullied. You're out here, touching the models. Alex Trebek, there's not been one blemish on Jeopardy. He is that show.
Yeah.
That and the fact that you have to put your answers in the form of a question. Those are the two things we know about Jeopardy. So, yeah, nah.
But yeah, that's a little sad start to our entertainment portion.
But it's noteworthy.
It's definitely noteworthy. Yeah. So what do you think about Tiffany Haddish?
We've talked about her, and I like Tiffany Haddish. She probably is not so much lately, but maybe even as of a few months ago, been a little oversaturated. I do like her, though, empirically. I think her comedy is funny. We talked about her on the very first show when Cat Williams came forward. We did. So I do like her. I think she's funny. So she's made some news recently for a couple reasons. She's the new host of Kids Say the Darndest Thing. I saw that. And it looks like that's a good fit for her for now. We'll see. She's done a whole image overhaul. You're right. I don't like what they're doing with that. Or what she's doing. Or I don't know. Because it seems like it's her choice. I mean. Well,
I'm not even gonna go there. But the
Okay.
reason why I'm bringing her up this day is because it seems that folks don't want to claim her.
What do you mean?
So she came out, I think either early this week or last week, and said like back in the day, like she and Chingy hooked up. Now,
Oh.
Chingy,
You mean people she was with don't want to claim her?
right?
Oh.
So, or
Yikes.
so she said that she and Chingy hooked up back in the day, blah blah blah, and Chingy's like, nah, it wasn't me.
And for Chingy to say that, because what the hell has he been doing lately?
Exactly. He's like, nah, it wasn't me. It was my brother.
I mean, Tiffany Haddish, that's true. Get your life right
He's
now.
like, it was my brother, but she always kind of liked me type thing. So,
She liked me. I passed it to my brother.
well, I guess
Yikes.
it was kind of like she was with his brother, but she kind of had a crush on him, but he was never like into her.
And this is Chingy we talking about. This is the first mention I've heard of him in years.
Right.
On
So
this very
she's
show at
actually
this
giving
very
him
moment.
life.
Yeah.
But I just think it's hilarious because she's in here going out and saying, yeah, we did this, we did that. And he's totally like saying, nah, I ain't never touched her. That situation was over there. But it brings me back to like, I think it was a year or two ago, maybe last year, when she supposedly was supposed to have a date with Drake. And he stood her up
What?
like he never showed up or something
I
like
didn't
that.
know anything about this.
So I'm like, damn, Tiff.
There's a time, Tiffany Haddish is one of those people, I'm speaking as a guy, that there are times when, like, different angles or different whatever, I'm like, yo, man, yeah, she's sexy. And then there's other times where I'm like, I mean, she's not unattractive, but, like, I'm not tripping. So she's in that range where there times, and especially her personality, I think, kind of adds to it. Where it's like, man, yeah, there times it's like, yeah, I could definitely see myself doing that. But she don't need to be claiming nobody, and if they're not claiming back, then that's a problem.
That's where I'm going.
That's a problem.
This is a problem.
Yeah,
Like,
she needs to stop that.
people standing you up.
Yeah,
And now they're not trying to claim you.
and Drake is known as a thirsty guy.
Exactly. He's a thirst bucket.
I didn't want to take your word.
So if Drake's standing people up, like, what is wrong with you, girl?
That's a damn shame. Drake could have literally, I mean, just, he has so many options, and he's still known as thirsty. It is like all over his face. If Drake stands you up, you got a problem. If you're famous and Drake stands you up, you got a problem. Tiff, stop. Look, I defended you when Kat came for you. Don't give people like Kat ammunition to come for you. Get your life. And I'm with you to wrap my little point up and your point up. Yeah, this kid say the darndest things. I saw a couple of commercials and little advertisements for it. And even in those advertisements, I was like, okay, that's funny. But see, Bill Cosby knew there are children on this show. Yeah, that's funny for now, but that's not going to fly. Yeah. But, hey, good way to step into the breach and get your bag, because that show is going nowhere. So if you do it right, you could do that show forever and get all the money.
Yeah, you can be like the America's Funniest Videos host.
Yeah, Bob Saget.
Bob Saget, Tom Bergeron.
Yeah,
All of them. You can be like them.
Yeah, that show's going nowhere.
Moving right along to female celebrities and comedians in entertainment this week. So, have you heard anything about Amanda Seales lately?
I have, but I'll let you introduce it.
So, look, Amanda Seales was apparently invited by Jesse Williams to a Hollywood Emmys party
Yes.
and was promptly removed from the party by Issa Rae's publicist.
This is messy.
It's so messy. And then after that, one of the co-stars from her show was like, well, you can't be out here being a disrespectful ass person and expect people to want to hang out with you.
So who looks worse in order? Because Issa Rae, I mean, I feel like she gets involved in some messy stories sometimes.
Right, but was she even around?
It was her person, though, right?
It was her publicist.
Her publicist.
Who
So
kicked
she's
her out.
connected to it.
She is, but
But no, Amanda
it's kind of
Seales.
like a guilt by association type thing. But
Amanda
I don't think
Seales. Why is something always going on?
that's what exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's always something with her.
Yeah.
Like either you're And I'm not saying that she's not telling the truth about these things, but it's always something like, oh, this person was trying to get at me and then I wouldn't let him get at me, so he went and did this. Or this guy sexually assaulted me or tried to do this. And it's always some big name in Hollywood when she says these things. It's almost like if you're not going to pursue the action of doing something about them, then why are you out here telling these stories? Because you're just creating heat.
And after a while, it's like anybody with common sense would know you're a walking news story.
Right.
So now I don't believe you because dudes be like, yo, even if she's into me, I'm not talking to her because she's going to like put this out on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing's sacred with her.
I'm going to keep it on a real world level. I'm going to tell y'all this right now, and you know this. If there's a girl who's always on social media talking about how dudes are trying to holler at her and taking screenshots of like text messages and stuff, that girl could be bomb. I'm thinking twice, 3, 4 times. If she reaches out to me first, I'm thinking twice. Because it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, this is the Venus flytrap right here. I need to meet this chick face to face before I even say anything. And I'm thinking twice before that. Because every time, if there's drama around a person and chaos around a person, people, companies, whatever, is like, whether true or not, we said this all the time. We don't need this. Amanda Seales is one of those people.
Yeah.
We don't need this. There's always something going on around you. It may be true. It may be not. If it's true, you're just the unluckiest person in the whole world. But why would I involve myself with you?
She's just messy.
Yeah. Mess.
She's very messy.
Mess, chaos, whatever you want to call it.
And I don't have any like real problem. I don't have any problems with her. Like, I think she's entertaining. I remember her way back in the day on Nickelodeon on that show, My Brother and Me.
Yeah.
I
didn't watch it, but I remember
girl,
it. Yeah.
Because she's a little, maybe a year or two younger than me. Maybe she's your age. I'm not sure. But I do remember her, and I've always been like, oh, I've loved kind of like her glow up because a lot of people start out as kids. No one else from that show is really doing anything. The parents on that show have both passed away, I think. So I think it's always great when you see people who started out on Nickelodeon or wherever and they grow up and they have successful careers. Yeah. But I think she's not doing herself any favors by being so messy and being unapologetically messy too. Yeah. Like, she goes out there, she goes hard, and she is unapologetic about everything. And when you brought up Issa Rae, she approached her about it and asked her about it. Issa said she didn't want to be involved. It was her publicist's party. She put the party together. She didn't want her there. And I'm like, yo, if I'm Issa, I'm like, I'm cool with you. I'm cool with you. Yeah. Y'all are not cool with each other. This has nothing to do with me. I don't want to
be linked in a story with you.
That too.
Point blank.
I'm on a show with you.
You're
That's
a
enough.
Mess. Yeah. Let's just leave it there.
Right.
Yeah.
But how about Sarunas Jackson, though? He said, look, nobody want to play with you. That's basically...
That's it. Yeah, let's keep it real.
Right.
That's funny.
But she's, again, I don't have many problems with her, but like, for real, let's get it together.
Calm down.
Okay, moving on. So we've talked a lot about reboots.
Yes.
And things continuing.
Yeah.
For some reason, we're here for some reboots, and for others, we're like, okay, no, don't do it. And this is one that we're like, okay, please don't do it.
Do not do it.
New Jack City.
I mean, yeah, go.
I'm just like, it was, first of all, we've talked about this. I think I saw that in the theater when I was 10 years old. I was too young to have seen what I saw. However, as I've gotten older and watched it repeatedly, that movie was done so well. It was a masterpiece. Mario Van Peebles did his thing. He
did do his thing. The acting was not good. But
the overall
movie was awesome.
It was an excellent movie.
Yeah. Script, cinemas off it.
Great. We don't need it again.
No, we don't. We'll keep going. Yeah. Oh, I mean, look, I'll put it this way, if I may. Mario Van Peebles captured a moment in which 91, the drug crisis was it wasn't at its apex, but it was certainly had a full head of steam and was at the forefront of the national conversation, probably right around the time George Bush went on air and talked about crack. Like, this is poison, whatever. So the point being, you had a movie that captured everything at that time. It captured black communities, white communities, New York, crack, whatever. The timing is off for a reboot. Why are you doing a reboot? What is it going to be about?
Opioids?
Yeah, like, who's going to be Nino Brown? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then the key player spoke out, which needs to happen more when whack reboots happen.
Are suggested.
Now, we talked about Wesley Snipes in the sense that Mahershala Ali
is in the Blake reboot.
Completely snaked him on the Blade reboot. And I would love to get a similar sort of emotional feeling on that he gave for this, but I'll let you take it away. Did you see what Wesley Snipes said?
No, I didn't see what he said.
Oh, you see what he said?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead. Look, he said, first of all, the timing, he basically said what I said, but he said it very quickly. He was like, the timing's all wrong. Why are we doing this? Why? And then he said, Sham, they called me to do this. And I said no.
Hell no. First of all,
I love that.
That is stupid. He was murdered at the end of the movie.
He said, they called me to do this. And I said no. Like, he said, I didn't want to be anywhere near this project.
Good.
He talked so much trash about it.
Good.
Like, he threw this project in the garbage. That's what people who are approached by, or even if they were the key player in the original and a reboot is thought up, that's how they should talk about it if it's a bad reboot.
It is.
Which most reboots
because,
are.
like you said, he said, that was a capsule of time.
Yes.
It was perfect for that time. That's not where we are in 2019 or
Correct.
2020 or whenever this will come out. Crack isn't what it was then. That all that like gangster stuff isn't now like it was then. Like, it's all different. And
Like,
I don't know how they would do that.
A drug dealer, a black drug dealer could not take over an apartment complex. First of all, gentrification is all over the place. You think a black drug dealer is gonna run the landlord out and take over the apartment? Has anyone been paying attention to gentrification at all?
Right.
Like, no.
And try to get a whole university moved.
Right.
You think they're gonna let one black drug lord take over?
Some white dude's walking his dog like, Nino Brown, I'm gonna need you in every part of, what is this, CBM or CMB? I don't care what it is. Get off my property. I'm about to put up a condo. Okay? Bye. Yeah, no, I mean, it's out of place. It's a money grab. It's a complete desperate flail to appeal to people our age. And, I contrast this with the excellent work that Eddie Murphy did last week. That wasn't a reboot. That's a biopic. But it had the potential to be a reboot in the sense of bring you back to a time. Put a story in its perspective. If you wanted to make a story about the person who Nino Brown was based off of, why don't you just do that? And take it to the big screen. But you don't want to do that because you're lazy. You being the studios. So kudos for Wesley Snipes for shooting this all the way down.
But Will Smith says he wants to reboot The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What do you think about that? That's
ridiculous. Will Smith, listen, you've had a great career. I'd take nothing away from you. Your highs aren't as high as to me as other people think they are, but I give him his respect. That said, why in the world would you even dream about introducing that? You should treat the Fresh Prince as your baby, if anything. I mean, why would you want that to be like touched?
I don't know. And you're not gonna have Uncle Phil. And which Vivian were you going to bring back?
Oh, I mean, first time Viv.
Yeah, they still hate each other, so that ain't gonna work.
She hates him. She hates that whole show.
She legitimately wishes that part of her life could be erased.
Yes. The one part of her life that we know her for, she hates. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
she
saying
pops her gums, bumps her gums all the time.
She cannot keep his name out of her mouth.
Yeah. Like, you want to quote, something happened to Will Smith, you want to quote, go to her.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're saying it's going to be more of a spinoff than a reboot. I don't know.
Carlton as a kid? What?
Who somebody got a kid. I don't know.
Carlton, they'll probably set it up. Alfonso Ribeiro, or whatever his name is, he'll be the new Uncle Phil. Maybe Will has a son and he's like sort of crazy, whatever. He goes, whatever. It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't need it.
That's stupid.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
So sidebar real quick.
Yep.
I read a meme either yesterday or the day before that said like it was 6 people in it, and they said which one of these is the best rapper turned actor in the bunch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it was 50 Cent, Ice Cube, Queen Latifah, T.I., and Ludacris, and I can't remember the second person, but none of them were Will Smith.
All right, so let's get 50 Cent out of there right now.
Right, he'd be last.
Queen Latifah should stay. She's been good. Let's see, who else? Luda, what are his acting chops? I mean, he's done Fast and Furious, and he was in Crash.
Yeah.
Right. In both roles. I mean, he had a couple scenes in Crash, but he's not really asked to do much. So I'm not going to call him a bad actor. It's just, his sample size isn't big enough. So let's take him out.
Oh, it was Tupac. How could I forget that?
I was about to say, Pac is, I mean, I have my own feelings about Pac. We all know that. So I'll let you go ahead and judge, and people judge me biased. But Pac, in my opinion, easily, maybe Cube. Cube has proven his acting credentials. Also, Queen Latifah. Those 3.
So I feel like if there was going to be a rapper turned actor, what is it, Mount Rushmore?
Right.
It would be LL Cool J, Queen Latifah, Ice Cube, and Will Smith.
Pac would not be on that stage?
No.
Okay. LL Cool J's been acting a long time. Let's get that straight. I mean, he's still acting right now.
I feel like he's like, yeah, he's still on your TV
CSI.
every week.
What, Miami, right? CSI
One of
Miami?
them, I don't watch it, but he's still on there every week.
Yeah. We were talking about that the other day. Like, yo, he has residuals from that show.
And you would almost throw in Ice-T.
Now, Ice-T can make a good case.
Yeah.
Pac is a better... Pac has a small sample size. Well, no, he has a small sample size in terms of time, but not in terms of content for acting.
I feel like he just played himself in every movie.
No, he did not. He played a detective. You know what? Sham is about to pull me in a rabbit hole that you guys don't want to go into. You need to see some Pac movies. Gang related. He was a police officer. He was a police officer.
I did see that movie. I also saw Gridlocked, which was a
drug addict.
I've seen his movies,
and I like that movie.
So
he didn't produce the movie, but
so my comment is not an uneducated one. Right. I've seen all of his movies.
All right.
So
sure,
we're not. It's not because of that, and I'm not trying to hate on him at all. I just think those 2 movies aside, he pretty much played himself.
Those 2 movies aside, so like Above the Rim and Juice and everybody, the same guy is what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
All right. Poetic Justice too?
He went off a little bit because they wanted him to be a lover, but at the core, he was still basically himself.
Okay.
But
I like how he says, I'm in the union. Yo, my grandmother was in the union, you know, whatever. It's a good, at least I'm in the union. Nah, he was a good actor, man. I mean, Ice Cube, see, here's the thing. I feel like Ice Cube, his career has done a trajectory that Tupac's career would have, I'm not going to say mirrored, but somewhat reflected had he been allowed to live, had he lived longer. Because there was a time where Ice Cube just did nothing but like, you know, whatever type of roles. And then Higher Learning, I think, was a big one for him where he kind of turned. But he kept going. He kept acting. He kept doing whatever. And so then you had like, what's the movie with Nia Long where he's the stepdad or whatever?
Are We There Yet?
Are We There Yet? Right.
And that became a TV show.
Exactly. And so my point being, he was able to sort of
evolve,
refine his image. Yeah. Ice-T just landed one role that refined his image, but it was a hell of a role. He landed on SBU.
He has played a cop for most of his career.
Played a cop.
After putting out a song called Cop Killer.
Yeah. So
the irony of that.
Yeah. But I think acting chops, though, I think Pac is up there with all of them. Now, Queen Latifah, hers is a little interesting. She stopped rapping quite a long time ago. So she really went into acting, did Living Single, then started doing movies and stuff. So she's really devoted herself to that. You know, Mount Rushmore, 4 people, your 4 are different than my 4. But it's a good question. 50 Cent should be nowhere near that list.
Yeah, he's at the bottom.
T.I. actually is a good actor.
He's a good actor.
T.I. is... there's a show called Boss. It's off now, but it was on Stars. And it was with Kelsey Grammer. He was playing the mayor of Chicago. And T.I. played... I don't even think he was a drug dealer. He was sort of he was a reformed, quote-unquote, drug dealer who was trying to be a councilman. He's really a way more well-written version of Councilman Tate. He played that on that show.
I think Ro Timmy was on that show, too.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Councilman Tate because we're sliding into our next topic.
Into it. There we go.
So we've seemingly just devoted a segment to Power.
I mean, we're watching the show, so we're in the show.
So here we go.
It's a show we both watch, which is rare. I think we both have different TV tastes. We both watch this show. We're both into it, and we both like talking about it.
We both are extremely annoyed with it. So.
I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm way more annoyed than you. But okay, you're annoyed today. Okay. What are you annoyed with?
So we actually watched the last episode together.
Yes, we did.
Which is something we don't normally do. And from jump, I was like, okay. I thought it was a dream sequence when Ghost came in the room with the gun to Tyreek's head. And he started trying to son him. I'm like, oh, now.
Yeah.
And then the funny part at the end of all that was when he was like, don't ever call me Ghost again. Like, nigga, this fool been calling you Ghost for a season and a half.
You've been letting it slide.
Right. Like, now you mad? Like.
Now, so you know what's ridiculous? I know I've been sitting here railing about how Power doesn't make sense. And you just laid out a perfectly cogent argument about how that's nonsensible writing. I love that scene.
I know you did.
I love that scene.
Everybody loves it. I'm the only one that's like, this scene was useless.
It's only because I hate Tariq so much.
Yeah.
That if the Easter Bunny came out and shot him in the middle of the show, even though that makes no sense, I'll be like, well, you know what? I'll roll with it. Even though I've been complaining about everything else.
So you probably enjoyed the scene where Tommy held him over the edge of the building even more.
Yep. That makes no sense. I mean, I shouldn't say that makes no sense. I understand why Tommy was upset and all that. But the point being, Tariq getting a comeuppance of any sort. And for both parties to realize quickly that he's been playing them is great.
Right.
And so however they wanted to execute that, they really were playing with house money with that, because it's like, if the goal is to scare Tariq and make him understand that he's a trick, then mission accomplished. You can do it however you want. I love that scene. But, and it's ironic. I was probably least annoyed by this episode than most recent episodes, but there were just as many. But no, Tariq, listen, just get out of here. Hopefully he'll die soon. So other than that, it was a good episode. I mean, whatever. They're bringing the plot along. He and old girl, the girl I like, Ghost, he being Ghost. And Councilman Tate's assistant, they're kind of chugging along. Councilman Tate still doing either. Tasha, I actually sort of like this whole Tasha's moving weight story through the stripper. I actually kind of like that. At least it's showing she has some kind of moxie and some kind of initiative and came up with an idea on her own. I give her like a little props on that.
But was it on her own though, or did the dude in the neighborhood force her to do it?
He forced her to do it, but the point being, now she went to Tommy and everybody else first to ask for money, but then when she couldn't get it, she figured it out. So I give her props for that.
Okay. That being said, I give Tasha props for nothing.
Yeah, she's horrible.
And I've always been very pro Tasha, but I feel like she's just spinning. She has no clue what direction she should go in because she's been so reliant on ghosts most of her life, which is a sad kind of byproduct of what's going on. But being that she wasn't at life for so long and she was and apparently she was very good at what she did, helping him build the empire.
Yeah.
I would think that, she would like woman up and figure out a better way to get her life going. Like, I don't know.
Now, I'm going to give some props to you for bringing me to a point about Tasha. You brought up in the last episode, and you brought it home to me at that very moment when you brought it up. I do so I'll give them some props for this. Showing Tasha, like, basically, so this is going back to the last episode, showing Tasha, like, sort of running Keisha over the rails for how badly she was doing the books. I like that because it took some time for that to sink in. It shows Tasha was good at the books. She knows what she's doing. That was a good sort of way to show the difference between the two characters and develop Tasha as a character and then set up this now sort of blossoming storyline that she's setting up her own little business. Are you like mildly impressed with Tasha or like for that? I
feel like that we already knew because they talked about that from the jump. And I think there was it that she went to college for accounting? It was something. She knew how to
do books.
She could be more than what she is per se. Because I think our mom even mentioned it in earlier episodes. But I just don't like the whole idea of, okay, Tariq, since this is what you're going to do, it's inevitable. Yes. I'm going to show you how to do it.
She's the worst mother in the whole
Terrible
world.
Mother. Terrible
whole
mother.
World. Yeah.
Terrible mother. But other than that, I was a little messed up with the idea of frickin' Freck trying to kidnap Dre only for Dre to escape and kill old boy, which was sad because he was the only loyal person Tommy had. And then Lurch, poor Lurch. And then Tommy, because Keisha, again, Lala Anthony is a horrible actress. Like,
yes, she is.
All she does, before when she used to say less, she didn't bother me. But now that she has a prominent role in the series and she's always got her mouth open, I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. She's like whiny all the time. You told me we were going to get out of this life. No. Why are you trying to drag somebody out of a life that they've always had? Like, find somebody else.
And real quick, last thing I would say about Lala and Power in general. It's horrible to tie into another of our stories. I mean, the common belief is that Carmelo went to the Knicks partly because, yes, he loves New York, but also he was married to Lala at the time, and she wanted to springboard her acting career by living in New York. So, you know what? This is what came to fruition out of that. Carmelo, you ruined your career for this product. I'm sorry.
Well, not also that. She was also doing radio and hosting and doing stuff. I think she was still working for MTV at the time. So that,
but the point being, he wanted to be there so that it would be easier for them to like be together.
I mean, that's more supporting your wife, not supporting the poor acting career. But I know what you're saying.
Right. You're supporting your wife's poor acting career.
Again,
all right, that was a savage. That was a very savage take.
Again, a byproduct of what
everything Sham said was correct. Lala was doing a lot of stuff. Her acting is poor, and I don't care.
I mean. She had jobs before they even...
Yeah, she did. And I'm sorry, I don't think she's that tight. All right, anyway.
And she's not. But and then Tommy, to appease her temporarily, what does he do? He moves her into Holly's house.
Yeah, that's disrespectful. Tommy's crazy. That was funny, though. I mean, I would laugh when I saw it. Like, yikes, okay, that's what you do? All right. Hey, it is what it is.
But them getting together and needing to kill Jason. We've all known from day one that Jason's got to go. So
they're doing your plan.
Yeah.
I still disagree with it.
He's got to go. He's got to go, though.
No, I know he's got to go, but it's not plausible to me that those two could trust each other this quickly at this level.
They don't. They said so.
Exactly. So they can't work together. Like, I don't see it.
Well, I think it's going to happen.
I can't turn my back on you for 2 seconds.
Someone said to me today that they think Tommy's going to be the one that dies.
I mean, I hope so. By the way, prequel-wise, you heard it's going to be about ghosts.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the prequels. Just like GOT shouldn't have multiple prequels, Power shouldn't have multiple prequels. If you're going to have a prequel in the first place, make it one.
Yeah, I agree.
Story to sneak in under the radar real quick. I know we're probably running over, so I'll make it very, very quick. Did you hear about the Training Day prequel?
Yes.
Yeah. They're thinking about getting Denzel's son to play Lorenzo. It will be a lead up. It will be set in the early 90s around the riots. I think it's the actual idea in a vacuum is not bad, but I will be more interested to see how Lorenzo got into debt with the...
And became a bad cop.
Yeah. Became a bad cop and got into debt with the entities that killed him. That would be a more interesting prequel to me. I'm glad Denzel Washington is nowhere near this. So
yeah, John David Washington is his son. He's a decent actor. Yeah. Ballers is wrapping up this week, so Correct. That'll be over. And then that's the only thing that I've actually really seen him in because I didn't go see the Klansman movie. Black Klansman.
Yeah, Black Klansman.
So, but he seems to be an all right actor. So I think if they do it right, but again, like I need new ideas, studios.
Yeah. Stop all the reboots. Just make something nice. Make something good.
All right.
Yeah.
So are you ready for some sports?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. So, big week.
Yep.
Let's start with the MLB. Sometimes we put it at the back. My Nationals.
Yes, your Nationals.
They're playing right now, guys. That's how much I love this show. Okay?
Yeah.
The Nationals are in game 2 of the NLCS. How did they get here? Well, they went... Last time we were playing, I believe they had evened it up with... Or, excuse me, last time we recorded, they had evened it up with the Dodgers 1-1. Since then, they beat the Dodgers in L.A. in the 10th extra innings. Howie Kendrick, grand slam. And before that, the Dodgers were looking like they were cruising to victory, 3-1. My Nationals were moribund. Then the Dodgers bring in who, Sharon?
Clayton Kershaw.
One Mr. Clayton Kershaw.
And we talked about him a year ago.
Yep.
To some length.
Yeah. About
his woes in the postseason.
Yeah.
He has been a stellar regular season pitcher.
An all-timer.
All-timer regular season pitcher. But I think in the playoffs, he is something like 1-10 or 2-13 at this point. Something ridiculous. And he just cannot show up in October. And it's pretty sad. And I have to mea culpa because I said that I saw the Astros and the Dodgers in the World Series. That's not going to happen. Yeah,
Astros can still get there, obviously.
They can still get there.
And your mea culpa isn't that deep. You said the Astros were the best team, period. And they still look like the best team, period. My Nationals have a terrible bullpen. So,
well, I just got to say congrats to the Nationals for getting past the first round of the playoffs for the first time.
Absolutely. And to do it over a team. The Dodgers are an excellent baseball team. This is a team that went to the World Series 2 times in a row and won 106 games this year. Honestly, Clayton Kershaw, yes, it's easy to put a GOAT. He should not have been put into the 8th inning after finishing out the 7th inning. So that was a managerial decision, and that was a bad one. That being said, Rendon, Soto, excellent performance. Juan Soto has made everybody in Washington forget the name Bryce Harper, and I'm bringing him up only because we know who he is. He plays in the division, but we are not even sweating him.
And if you do what I think you all can do, since you've gotten past the Dodgers, if you guys can get past the Cardinals, you're in. Yeah,
the Cardinals, they're the bosses of the National League. I mean, this is they're the Yankees of the National League, basically. They go to World Series. This is what they do. They show up regardless of how team. They are a well-run organization. They always make the right decisions in game, off the field, whatever. So we took game 1 last night. It was a tough game. Anibal Sanchez, 35 years old. He's our fourth pitcher. The reason we had to use our fourth pitcher is because we talked about in the last episode. We strung together all our pitchers and said, hey, man, we need you this and this and Max Scherzer, whoever, Steven Strasburg.
Y'all was like, we're getting out this round.
We're getting out, okay? Oh, you pitched yesterday? Great. Come on in. Whatever. We need an in here, in there. So Anibal Sanchez was the last person that was like, look, I guess I didn't pitch yesterday, so I can go. But in all seriousness, now, one little story about this, and then we can move on. Hudson, who is one of our closers, he had a baby yesterday, okay? Now, he was not with the team. He was on paternity leave.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah.
Or I saw it on the TV ticker.
Correct. So someone decides that it would be a good idea to get on Twitter and blast him for leaving the team in the LCS. And the exact quotes were, well, no, not the exact quotes. I'm going to paraphrase it. Forget that. Unless there's something wrong with the baby or the mother, it's inexcusable for Hudson to miss the LCS, to be just because his daughter is being born. First of all, who are you? And what are you saying? And I'm sorry, this was ex Marlins exec. X being the key word. Okay.
Yeah, he has nothing else better to do but to troll.
Yeah. Daniel Hudson, I should have said, was the pitcher. David Sampson is the ex-Marlins exec who felt the need to go on Twitter and blast this man for going to be at the birth of his daughter's life. I've read an article on Deadspin. They put it perfectly. So, first of all, real quick, Sampson is the son-in-law. The reason he got the job was because he was the son-in-law of one Mr. Jeffrey Loyer. Okay? He wouldn't have been the general manager if it wasn't for his family. So what is he talking about? I guarantee you, if his wife's daughter was born, he would have missed all kinds of series.
Yeah.
And what do you know about Daniel Hudson and his wife? Maybe his wife is a high-risk pregnancy. Like, that's none of your business. I'm a Nationals fan, and we need Daniel Hudson just like we need everybody else. And I was like, oh, well, his daughter's being born? Well, you got to go take care of that. And he's back with the team today. People, what this is about is not so much the Nationals of sports. People need to mind their business, and people need, how do you say stupid stuff on Twitter? Saying stupid stuff out loud in the heat of the moment, you have to think about that when you type that. Like, if I was Daniel Hudson, I would find that man and, like, knock all his teeth out.
No, you wouldn't.
I know. Anyway.
But rounding out the playoffs. Houston Astros beat the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep.
They closed out that series, so they will be playing the Yankees. Game 1 is tonight at 8 o'clock. That is going to be
a nice series.
A serious series.
Because the Yankees have had time to. The Yankees swept the Twins. Mm-hmm. So they've had time to rest, whereas, to your point, the Rays took the Astros to 5. So the Yankees are now well rested. The Astros are the better team, but the Yankees, I mean, when they get on a streak, they can put up runs.
Right. The Yankees have the bats.
Yeah.
Astros have the pitchers.
Correct. So, immovable force, unstoppable object, or other way around.
Oh, we're doing Newton. Physics.
Right.
It's my favorite.
Right. So, we'll see. That's going to be a very fun series, though. Yankees feel confident, but the Astros are the better team. And the Astros knocked the Yankees out before. So, they're not scared of them.
Right. So that should be interesting. I don't really like to watch Yankees games because I hate their whole life existence. But I think I might have to get into this series.
Yeah,
really.
That's going to be a big series. So that's the playoffs. So that'll wrap up. But kudos to my Nationals, and they're actually up in the game 2, 1-0.
Now, someone said, and this was, I don't know what happened to it, but since we're talking about the Nationals and we're talking about the city of D.C., mm-hmm. Someone said that in order to win a championship, you have to actually be in D.C. not play in Maryland
That's an interesting
and be a
little
DC team because the Wizards won their
Mystics.
I'm sorry. Gosh, the Mystics. I'm so sorry. That
I had to correct that quickly before
I'm so sorry, Mystics. The Washington Mystics, WNBA team,
Congratulations
won their
to them.
first ever WNBA championship.
Awesome.
And I bring this up not only because it's great, but because the Nationals now are the only team named after Washington that doesn't have a championship.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Now,
And I wonder if this will motivate them even more because the Capitals won 2 years ago.
Yep.
We're still kind of fresh off of that.
Yeah.
And the Mystics won this week.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if the Nationals are like, look, we're the only ones now. Let's get this done.
Yeah, and that's a great point. They also have sort of a very close tie to the Capitals. A lot of players always sort of come to the games and support each other. So a lot of that is fresh in their minds too. I'll give the Nationals a little bit of a pass in the sense that they're 14 years old. Now the Mystics are about the same age, probably maybe 20 years old, something like that. So mid-90s?
Late 90s.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, around 20 years old. So, and, Nationals came in the mid-aughts. That being said, yeah, I hope so. Whatever it takes. And, the Nationals, hopefully they'll keep the streak going. The only team that is just in the doldrums is the football team. So, whatever.
Yeah, we don't care about that.
Yeah, we don't. Now, I thought you were going, they're the only team, all the teams that actually play in the city, in the actual vicinity, have a championship except the Nationals, too, because that's true as well.
Yeah, but the Redskins actually played in the city when they won their championships.
Yes, so. Ma'am. Yeah, but so congratulations to the Mystics. So that was a great series too. That went all the way to the wire, and they beat Connecticut. And the Mystics were a joke like 4 years ago. Yeah, that turnaround was instant. Elena Della
It turned around when she got here.
Yeah, and they had a couple other good pieces with her. Yeah, she played through a herniated disc, which I would say 99% of male basketball players will not play through. So,
she's a beast.
Yeah,
and it's funny because as bad as the Mystics were for all those years, they still were number one in attendance.
Yeah,
every year.
City supports them.
So that goes to show that you now have gifted your city a championship, and they have supported you wholeheartedly throughout this whole journey.
And one owner owns two of those teams. Ted Leonsis owns the Mystics and the Capitals. He also owns the Wizards, so he could probably point to them like, you guys just like stinking up my name.
And it's great because they recently got their own stadium. They built a new stadium for them it's near Gallaudet University, I want to say.
Oh, you talking about practice?
No, they play there now too. Like they play in that facility too.
Really?
But were the games at Verizon Center? Or Capital One?
Cap One.
They might have, but they're supposed to be playing their games there as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
And the new G League team, the Go-Go's.
They are fans. They are called the Go-Go's. And we love Go-Go here, but I don't know if I was a fan of that name.
Yeah,
I don't know if I was a fan of that name.
I don't like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's sticking with basketball. So we had a little bit of sort of a tiff, whatever you want to call it, but it was an incident. It blew up quickly. So we've talked about Daryl Morey in one of our favorite segments with him and Carmelo Anthony.
Curb.
Yeah. So he's the Houston Rockets general manager, Daryl Morey. Very known for analytics. They talk about him on PTI all the time. He went to Northwestern, so he's cool with Wilbur. He decided to tweet. So the NBA did set up, this is now concluded as of today, they did set up a round of exhibition games in China as an initiative to really branch out the game in China. And I learned a couple things from this. First of all, I didn't know that there was a Chinese basketball association, or whatever you want to call it, and that Yao Ming was the president.
He heads it.
Yeah.
And Yao Ming back in the day, and for you youngsters who didn't get I think he was drafted in 2008?
That sounds about right. Maybe mid 2000s. Yeah. 5, 6.
maybe
Yeah.
2002,
Okay.
something
We'll
like
look it
that.
up.
It was
I'll
in the
look it up.
aughts.
Yeah.
He didn't
Definitely
have
in the
a
aughts.
long career because of injuries,
But
but
very
the
impactful.
impact of Yao Ming on the NBA was ridiculous.
Yes, it was.
Like, China wasn't even checking for I mean, they were, but this one person basically like married NBA to the whole country of China
Yep.
just by his existence and
Yep.
playing in the NBA. So since then, like, jersey sales for the NBA are ridiculous in China.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they love our sport, I could say, more than Americans at this point.
Yao Ming was drafted in 02.
2002. Okay,
Yep.
I landed on the
He's
right year.
39 years old, which you would think he was older than that.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of gives you the background of why this story is so important.
Yeah.
So Daryl Morey basically showed his support for protesters in Hong Kong,
Right. Which we haven't really talked about.
which we
Yeah.
haven't. And this was around the same time that the NBA does their like annual voyage to play games in China.
Correct.
So of course this set off like a firestorm.
Yeah, I mean, he tweeted and literally said, you know, we're going to always support human rights. At the moment that we're doing this initiative in China, it was a direct dig at the Chinese government.
Right.
And he did it via Twitter. So it's passive aggressive. And the one thing you don't want to be with an authoritative government, I made a joke about the debates being like China last week. China does not play.
At all.
China is a totalitarian regime.
Then we talk about the White House new press secretary who got mangled in
Yes.
China because they don't play.
They're modern. See, we see all these stories about Stalin and whatever, and we think, oh, the Cold War, that's over. China is that. The only difference is they've dressed it up better and we're their business partner. But people get executed in China for like nothing, like all the time. And when you're sitting there tweeting, you have business relationships with them, you have to understand the kind of people you're dealing with. And what did they do? First of all, they kirked.
Yeah.
They spazzed completely to the point where David Silver had to come out, sort of apologize, and then he kind of walked it back, and then he apologized for he mishandled this. It was a bad. Now, when I say mishandled, it wasn't easy to handle. It wasn't. This was a time bomb in his hand. Then they were like, "All right, you want to play that game? We're going to start pulling games," because China is kind of like I told Kamal and Dr. They're entities who operate in this world without consequences. China is one of them. The people who run China, they have no consequences from anyone in the whole world. Who's going to stop them? The president of the United States? No. And I'm not even talking about 45. Nobody. Another person like that, Vladimir Putin. He wakes up in the morning, like he can do whatever he wants. There's no one he's afraid of. China is like that too. Y'all want to talk about us human rights? Oh, what? You don't like what we're doing with Hong Kong? We're going to start pulling games, and then we're going to see how you're going to feel. Don't you ever put our names in your mouth again. That's basically how they're treating us. And the players are in the middle of it. I would feel extremely uncomfortable if I was a player in China right now.
What are you saying right now?
What? This is a preseason game. What are we doing here? Get me on a plane back to the U.S. right now. Okay? Why are we here? Jerseys? Whatever.
Right.
The other thing about Yao Ming, younger people remember Lin Sanity, Jeremy Lin. Yeah. Why don't you multiply that by like 1,000? There will be no Jeremy Lin if there was no Yao Ming.
Not even close.
Yeah. Just to give y'all some perspective.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. But that Daryl Morey, Tony Kornheiser said it best. Daryl Morey has now retreated into a hole. Daryl Morey threw a grenade into the NBA and then disappeared.
I'm surprised he still has a job after this.
I am too. And David Silver, that was what he tried to manage, because what he didn't want it to look like politically here was that Daryl Morey was fired for free speech. But here's the problem. You work for a company, I work for a company. If our company is doing business with another entity, whether it be another company or a country or whatever, and we then go on social media and put our views out there, we could get fired for that, for endangering the business. Absolutely. That's not free speech. people could take this free speech thing. I know I talked about it last week during the debates. Correct. I was talking about the freedom to speak at an event without being in prison. That's different from being fired.
Right. And you know, I love Charlamagne. He says this all the time. He's like, yeah, you have freedom of speech, but freedom of speech can also come with consequences. So speak as freely as you like, but that don't mean you may not lose your job, or B, get popped in the mouth. So
right. People always talk about the founding fathers this, the founding fathers that. The founding fathers, look, if somebody were to come into the founding fathers while they were sitting there trying to draft the Declaration of Independence, whatever, they'd be like, somebody get these people out of here so we can. Like, somebody get these people out of here so we can finish. Now, they don't got to go to jail. But, like, get them out of here. Right. And if one of them works for me, like, you're fired. Like, whatever. Like, people don't understand, like, what they say when they're saying stuff like this. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the ship has been righted for now, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Except for some of those companies that are losing money.
David Silver has taken a flogging for this. He's taking a flogging. This might be his most negative press. Not even might. It's easily his It's easily his most negative press that he's gotten since he's been the commissioner, because he kind of mishandled this. It wasn't easy to handle, but he mishandled it all the same. So we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, I'm still wondering again how Daryl Morey still has a job, but we'll see how this unfolds. Yeah, we will. Moving on to the NIFL. So okay, we're past the midpoint. So we're at week 5. Sham, I'm riding in on a chariot. Normally we start with the Eagles. The Eagles are at week 6. Huh? The Eagles are at week 6. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Did I say week 5? Yeah. Okay. Because we're 3 and 2. We passed week 5. Yeah. Sorry. We're at week 6 tomorrow. Well, let's start with the Eagles then. Okay, so we have Minnesota tomorrow. What y'all gonna do? Which I should be in Minnesota right now, by the way. I was supposed to go there. You said weekend. You were gonna go. I forgot about that. Yeah, let's not sidebar about how like annoyingly I'm not there. So last year we talked a lot about Jack in the Box teams, and Minnesota was on the list of the high list of that. And I always said, and I will always say, it's a team I don't ever want to see, because you don't know which Minnesota you're getting. You said it, yeah. Like last week, I don't want to see that Minnesota. Yeah, yeah. I mean, who were they playing though? They were playing. I'll look it up. I feel like it was somebody bad. But they were all in sync, because it was off of the heels of Adam Thielen cussing out. So that's my point. All of that is still there. Stephon Diggs still doesn't want to be there. Well, so like they still have the sort of potential to implode. Right. You are correct though. They are a Jack in the Box team in the respect that. At what point is the implosion going to happen? Right. So with that being said, how do you feel about your team? I feel like we can win this game. However, it's in Minnesota, under the dome. Right. It's probably going to be very loud. It's a dome. As long as Kirk Cousins is exactly who I believe he is, I think we got a shot. However, our secondary is so unstable that if Thielen gets loose, we're not going to be able to do anything about that. Also, their run game. So I have Dalvin Cook on my fantasy team. He's been putting up numbers like every week. We're usually very good in stopping the run, but we haven't really shown that in the last. Has Cook been hurt? He was hurt like last year. Okay, he's played every game this year? He's played every game. Okay. Thankfully so. Thank you, Dalvin. I'm thinking something else. So I think we're exactly where I thought we would be at this point. Sans the Detroit loss and the Atlanta loss, like I feel like my opinion about how the team is flowing has not changed. There's been a couple bad losses because of unfortunate events like Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson not playing. Yeah. But the secondary's still trash. And we got to put up more points than the other team to win, because we're not going to keep them from scoring. How's Jalen Mills doing? He's still recovering. Oh, that's right. He was hurt. Yeah, he's still in the IR. Yo, I'd be remiss if I said You've been calling Atlanta trash since you could breathe on this show.
But they got one win, and it's against us.
Yeah, I know you were apoplectic.
I'm like so fucking pissed. I don't think you understand.
Yo, it's crazy. And by the way, Minnesota beat the Giants last week.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so there you go. They're
facing a much better team this week.
That's why they look good. By the way, the Giants, we're not going to waste time. Keep going on Philly. So to wrap it up, so you're feeling good. Kirk Cousins, he is who we think. I think he is who we think he is. That was a hiccup, and a positive hiccup in their respect. There are serious problems in that locker room. They all know he's not good. Was it Zach Brown for the Eagles?
Yeah.
He used to play for the Redskins.
He sure did.
And you and I were talking earlier. He did not hold back on his opinion about Kirk Cousins. He basically was like, look, if we can make Kirk Cousins throw the ball a lot, if we can stop Cook and make Kirk Cousins throw, we're going to win the game because he's not good. I know that from my time with the Redskins. That's exactly what Zach Brown said. So there you go.
Yep.
Probably not a good idea to, just chirp a lot like that. That's not usually what y'all do, but
we're not. That's not our culture.
He came from the Redskins, so y'all got to kind of rinse that out of his system.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Eagles. So before we get to my boys, just do a little round robin real quick. Division. Giants trash, Redskins trash. We're not even going to spend time on that.
Cowboys lost 2 straight.
Cowboys lost 2 straight. Yeah. The Eagles commit this. You guys beating the Vikings, that's a serious move in that division because the Cowboys, and I forget who they play, but I think it's somebody bad. Oh, they play the Jets. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they better win that.
All of their wins are over teams that aren't good.
Yeah, like horrible.
Like horrible teams.
Yeah, and anybody that's like even approaching good, they have been folded.
Right.
So you got to take for granted that they'll probably win that, so you got to keep up at minimum.
And next week we play them.
Yeah, so, and then there it is.
And we generally don't have too much of a problem with them.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. It's a heated division rivalry.
Yep. And so I feel like we took care of a lot of teams in the North. We'll get to the Bears, but the Packers are still rolling along. We actually, my boys, the Raiders play the Packers next week. We have bye week this week. We play them next week. So that's going to be a big game. The Packers defense has actually been stepping up a lot.
Yeah.
For Aaron Rodgers, who he hasn't been having a bad season, but he certainly hasn't been having the type of season that like he's carrying the team. So maybe the coach is on to something.
He's had some very errant throws.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers like plays, and you're like, what the hell did you do that for? Like,
yep.
You can tell he's getting older. I mean,
Agreed.
It's just what it is.
I'm not buying that Detroit's good at all. I think that's going to fade. They play on Monday night this week, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. The South, we have the Saints, Teddy Bridgewater. Have we talked about him?
He is carrying the load.
We talk a lot about Breeze, and deservedly so, but Teddy Bridgewater has stepped into the breach and carried that team.
Yes, he is. He's really carrying the load, and
yes.
it's wonderful to see.
Yes.
Although, I don't typically root for the Saints because if we end up facing them in the playoffs and Drew Brees is with them, I'm going to be like pissed. But it's nice to see Teddy Bridgewater do well.
It is. I mean, his career, he was having a great year. And then he had that horrific injury, and then he came back.
He got dumped in favor of Kirk Cousins.
That's right. So those fans in Minnesota right now, we didn't talk about this. They still are like zero tolerance with Kirk Cousins. They would take Teddy Bridgewater right now.
They would take Case Keenum right now.
Yes, they would. Yes, they would. They'd be like, if it's the Case Keenum, yeah, we'll take him.
Because first of all, I was really confused about that because Case Keenum got them almost to the Super Bowl.
You've maintained that position. I maintain the position that he was coached well, and we're seeing the Case Keenum now that is what we thought they were.
I guess my point was it wasn't broke.
Yeah, no. And part of your point, which was legitimate, he wasn't the problem. They treated him like he was the problem. Yeah, he wasn't the problem.
No, he got them this close to the promised land.
Yeah.
They were one catch away. Yeah.
They had other problems that they could have addressed and been fine.
Right. So I feel like they get whatever they deserve at this point. And
Cam, the young man down there, is winning. I forget his name.
So I watched that game last week when Carolina played. I think it was the Jaguars. Look, Christian McCaffrey is like all world right now. But they are going to kill him.
Yeah.
He cannot play on every play like that again.
Yeah.
He had like 260 or some ridiculous number like that in total yards for the game. He was in there on every single play. He had so many carries, so many receptions.
I was about to say receptions too.
It was ridiculous. Like he cannot sustain that.
I know you play fantasy. I play fantasy. Christian McCaffrey, this was when people thought Cam was healthy. People knew he would be used like this. Was he not on the top, or at least one or two of your draft board? Like in terms of like the ESPN sort of machine board?
He was like in the top.
He wasn't my personal board,
No.
but like if you auto draft, he was at least 1 through 3.
He was mixed
because
in there.
people knew he would be overused.
He was going to be like a Marshall Faulk type player, but with way more way more touches.
But they're winning games, so we'll see. Tampa, look, I think we both have been right in the sense that Jameis Winston is being coached by Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians. Thank you. He's been coached. He definitely looks better. Tampa's still not good. And I don't think Jameis Winston is good.
He's not good.
But he looks a lot better. Sidebar, and we skipped over the Redskins, but I have to throw this in. Byron Leftwich was thrown out as a candidate or a possible candidate
to replace Jay Gruden?
Yes.
And we didn't mention that the Redskins coach got fired this week.
Yeah, I called him trash and skipped by it, but that actually dominated like the first half of the week because it is the first coaching firing of this week, so it is significant. We both talked about the Redskins in utter detail. They are the worst organization in the NFL and one of the worst organizations in the four. They're bad organizations in the 4 major sports. They're down there for a variety of reasons. We've talked about them. Jay Gruden got fired. He probably will join his brother out in Oakland, in my opinion, probably, at some level.
Whatever.
Assistant to the head coach.
And we're getting a little off track because we already talked about NFCs, but I will say this. When he got fired, it obviously wasn't a surprise to anyone.
No one.
But it was almost like he was trying to get fired.
Oh,
so
he hates the job.
He hated the job. Yeah. Like, he cared. He gave nothing to it. He's like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah.
And even when his statement after he got fired was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to move on, pretty much.
In their statement, and then we will move on, at least I will. Bruce Allen gave one of the worst press conferences ever. We talked about Doug Williams. There's no one in that organization capable of speaking to the media. Jay Gruden was actually that person. Bruce Allen, we've talked about him in detail. They didn't thank Jay Gruden for his service, which is what you're supposed to do. They didn't do any of that. He gave a terrible press conference. We live in D.C., so just like PTI, we're going to always at least give some time to what's happening here. But continuing in the NFC South, so Atlanta. Now, the reason I bring them up real quick, I heard Quinn, somebody said it best. Now that the door has been open to firing coaches mid-season, like no one wants to be the first one. The Redskins pulled the trigger. His seat is hot because Atlanta's bad, and it's the defense specifically. And
he was supposedly a defensive guy.
He's a defensive guy.
He's supposed to come in there and revamp the defense.
And they've had injuries. Yeah, they've had injuries. You know, but people at this point, that's an excuse. That's not a reason. Matt Ryan, the Julio Jones, they're not having great seasons either. But that defense has been horrific. Ever since they blew the lead in the Super Bowl. Like, since then.
Except when they play us, apparently.
Yeah, you're pretty bad about that. Now, the West, that division has gotten extremely interesting.
Jimmy G.
I mean, I'll let you talk about Jimmy.
Jimmy G.
49ers are undefeated, so by definition, a lot of people call them the best team in the NFC. I still don't think that. The Rams have had a couple tough losses, especially defensively. They look a mess.
And that's their claim to fame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, offense is their claim to fame.
I mean,
Rams?
their defense was like amazing.
Yeah, it was, but the Rams score points.
Well,
they not in the Super Bowl, but they score points. But yeah, Wade Phillips, he better figure that out like ASAP. They gave up 50 points to Jameis Winston. Like, let's stop. But Seattle, to me, in my humble opinion, even though technically San Fran has the better record.
Technically, they're undefeated.
Okay, so it's technical. You put Seattle and San Fran on the field right now, Seattle beats them, in my opinion. So that's the technical part about it. Officially, technically, you're right. They both. No, but it's a great division. It's a great division. So are you. It's a great
girl.
Whatever. You know what? We're cutting this whole bit now, Joe.
No, we're not.
Yeah, she's like, no, we're not. No, this is a good division, though.
It is, and it's funny because when we did our NFL preview show, I again picked San Francisco.
Yes, you did.
To win this division.
Yeah.
Because this is the San Francisco I thought that we were going to get last year. Now it's early. It's just 4 games. Early. They could implode, but
I don't think they're going to implode.
I don't think they are. They could.
I think they're doing the right things.
But I'm standing behind the fact that I thought that they would be good.
Yeah.
And they are.
Kyle Shanahan is building quite the resume for himself. Because I didn't realize he got a 7-year deal.
That's a weird year deal.
Yes. Or at least a 5. Even that's a little long for a first-year coach, but that's fine. The Rams will figure it out. I think they'll be fine. The Seahawks will figure it out. So it's a question of how will the 49ers take that next step to compete with those two teams. So there it is. The Cardinals are not good.
They've already shown that they could beat the Rams. So I think, even if they split, that's a good showing for the season.
Correct.
But like you, I'm interested in seeing how they face up against Seattle.
Yeah.
That'll really show us something.
Yes, it will. AFC real quick. I'll start with the Raiders so that way it'll be short. The Raiders beat the Bears last week. The AFC West. Kansas City lost to Indianapolis. That was a good game. It was a very good game. I'm proud of my Raiders for beating both the Bears and the Colts. My Raiders are coming. Derek Carr still concerns me quite a bit. He will not throw the ball downfield. That is a problem. However, Josh Jacobs, the young boy, that young man is doing his thing. I do like the game plan John Gruden is calling. Derek Carr is managing the game, but we need to take some shots downfield right now. But I'm very happy with the defense. Khalil Mack was coming for us. Derek Carr was not even touched by anyone. That's the second time that I've thought that Derek Carr would be sacked. The first one was in the Denver game with Von Miller and Chubb. In this game, Khalil Mack and Bears defense, Derek Carr has not been touched. Our offensive line's been stellar. And we pushed the Bears around on the ground. Great game. Great game by the Raiders. We have a bye week this week, and then we play Green Bay. That will be another test. We have a brutal schedule. Let's get through it. Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes himself said it. People are playing the man, and it's starting to bother them. They need to get over that. Tyreek Hill will be coming back soon. Kansas City will still be fine. They don't have a problem. The Chargers, though, they have a problem. They lost to Denver last week. The Chargers are doing what they want to do sometimes. They have all the time in the whole world, and they mismanage games and lose them.
Phillip Rivers only got me like 5 fantasy points.
Sometimes Phillip Rivers has these games or years sometimes where he's like, I'm not interested. I know I'll be here next year. Whatever. I'll just have another kid. That's crazy.
Just round it up to 10.
Just round it up to 10. All right. So we're out of there. The North. Mike Tomlin got linked to the Redskins job as well. Did you see that this week?
God, please don't come to the Redskins.
Please don't. Please don't.
You got a good situation in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Keep it.
Well, they were talking about him if he got fired by Pittsburgh.
They don't fire anybody.
That's exactly right. Pittsburgh Ravens. Ravens are actually trying to figure out they're going to recover. They started out hot. They've had a couple stumbles.
That's because they played Miami in Arizona.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, they need to get that offense back clicking. But I still believe in Lamar Jackson. I still believe in the Ravens. I still think they're good.
I think so too. They won the games that they should have won aside from losing to Cleveland by 15. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
They played Kansas City very closely.
Yes, they did.
That was a really good game.
And that was in Kansas City, I believe,
yeah,
right?
It was.
Yeah.
But I don't look at them like Oh, they're not going to win. They're going to win the division. Yeah. There's no one else in the division that's going to. Cincinnati's 0-5. The Steelers are 1-4.
And on their third quarterback.
Yeah. And Cleveland, they're 2-3. But I mean, they got obliterated last week.
Yes, they did. Cleveland looks terrible. We're not even going to waste oxygen.
We're not.
So there we go. Real quick about Pittsburgh, Colin Kaepernick. Do you see that came out this week? Because Pittsburgh is putting in an undrafted rookie at quarterback, he felt that now was the time to get his team together to put out a statement of facts. It was literally like, these are the untruths that have been spread about Colin Kaepernick, and it was a bullet point. We won't go through it. I may go through it next episode once I dig into it more. But basically, he was dispelling all the rumors about him. And teams have been offering jobs, blah, blah, blah. So he was that upset that Pittsburgh decided to go with this undrafted rookie over him that he and his team decided to put that out.
But you settled. And
that was one of the bullet points, that he couldn't play because he settled. He said that's not true.
But no, I mean,
the settlement was over unpaid wages. He could still play.
That's not where I'm going. But we're gonna tie this.
Yeah, we'll tie it
and talk about it later.
We'll tie it.
So yeah, the intriguing divisions to me in the AFC right now, only because, look, we all think New England's probably going to win the division.
Yep.
But Buffalo was undefeated.
Buffalo's fight. They're 4-1.
They lost last week?
Yeah. Or I don't know if it was last week, but they're 4-1.
I thought they were still undefeated.
Yeah. No, they're 4-1.
But what? They're like...
Yeah, no, listen, I owe Buffalo an apology. I'll say it right now. They are fighting. Their defense is excellent. They made New England look very, very beatable when they played them.
They lost 10-16? Okay.
To New England. Yeah. I'm tripping. Yeah, and Tom Brady, that might have been his worst game in quite a while. Yeah, and I have Tom Brady on one of my fantasy teams, so I know that.
Yeah. We both owe them an apology.
Yeah. They have played extremely well, especially on defensively. And is Josh Allen? Josh Allen? He's looking great. Not great, but he's carrying the team along. So
okay. And then the South, we can wrap it up with them.
Look, Houston's rolling on. Deshaun Watson, he's the man.
He's looking so good.
He's the man.
I'm so glad he was able to come back from that ACL injury, and he's even better. This is great.
I proclaim the Titans. I keep putting my faith in them and wagging my finger in the air, and they keep shooting me down. They're a Jack in the Box team, and they're not looking good at the moment. They're okay. The Colts, Jacoby Brissett. Hey, my Raiders beat them, but they turn around and beat Kansas City. Jacoby Brissett is fine. And kudos to, we didn't talk about this. Kudos to Indianapolis. So I think we mentioned it briefly, for extending him immediately.
Yes.
And putting their faith in him and saying, you know what? Andrew Luck retired. Yes, they put us in a win, but we're going to put our faith in you. And that let the fan base know, and that let everyone know we have a quarterback, and he's playing like it.
I like it. And the Tom Brady backups are looking really good.
Yes, they are. Him and Jimmy G.
Yep.
And finally, Jaguars, they didn't even figure out what they're going to do with Jalen Ramsey. They trash. I mean, they're winning games. Everybody has kind of the same record.
They have their backup quarterback.
What's his name? Minshew?
He runs too much.
Yeah.
He doesn't get rid of the ball.
He need to cut that mustache.
There were times during that game against the Panthers last week that they could have won it, and he just held the ball way too long.
You're correct.
But he's young. He doesn't really,
He's trying to figure it out. He's in the adrenaline. He had some early success, and now it's like it's getting to him. So,
but DJ Shark, he's on my fantasy team.
I picked him up too.
I drafted him in
you drafted him?
One of the last rounds.
Wow.
I got him.
People were getting kickers, and you got him?
I got him so cheap. Well, that's because I'm smart enough to pick up Justin Tucker in round 9.
You pick up Justin Tucker, and you got points every week. Come on, guys.
I'm not waiting to the end to get my kicker.
Come on,
I know who is out there.
Yeah, you draft your needs. Get everybody. Don't follow everybody else.
I don't follow the trend, and that's why I'm leading the division in my league.
I hear that. So look, the NFL is fun this year, man. We're not. There is a chasm. There are horrible teams. Somebody said these are the most winless teams that they've been in a while. They're horrible. But the parity is good though. There's not a lot. You can't really call it at the moment, and that's good.
Especially in the AFC South. I mean,
Correct.
you got 2 teams at 3-2 and 2 at 2-3. It's anybody's ball game right now.
The dumpster fires are burning bright hot, but like everywhere else, is good. So that's good.
So how'd you feel about this episode, Shaka?
Oh man, I loved it. You know, how homecoming weekend, we heard a siren just now.
Yep.
I don't know if we caught the tail end of it, but I'm excited because we're coming up on probably, I think I've said in the past, that maybe April, but I don't know, but October/November is like sort of one of those critical mass moments in sports where you have convergence. A convergence of all the 4 major sports, especially having my Nats in it. So that's great. So you got baseball. Hockey has already started. We haven't even talked about that.
Hockey usually lines up parallels with the NBA.
Yeah, it usually starts a little bit sooner, so it's already started. They end at the same time. They draw it out, and then so the NBA and obviously the NFL is in full swing. So we will do our NBA preview show coming up. We're very excited about the NBA. Some big NBA news, which, because I haven't confirmed the depth of it yet, but it has something to do with the Lakers, and I think it'll make our next show a little bit more fun.
We definitely have to throw that in. We got a lot of really good feedback about our NFL preview show, so I'm excited about
people liked it. So we're gonna do a one-off for the NBA show, and then we're coming up on 50. Yeah. So no, I feel great. Great.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Stop Playing Podcast with Sham and Shaka. You can catch us on Twitter at stop_playing_pod. You can check us out on Facebook at the Stop Playing Podcast and on Instagram at the Stop Playing Podcast. Please tell your friends to visit us on any podcast platform that they can find, because we're everywhere. We don't even have to list them anymore. So just type in the Stop Playing Podcast and you'll find us. So like I always say, no double dipping, keep your chips on the plate unless it's the podcast. We got to go. See you next time.
Stop playing.